What's up, guys? Jason Guyman here, and tonight I've got a special guest on, and not on right now, but he'll be on here shortly. He's out hanging some Christmas lights. He got a new marketing technique. He's got a brand new marketing technique this year. He just discovered it just today, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. This has been a awesome week. I know some people have been closing some really good jobs even this week. I always say December 10th is usually the cutoff of when things start dying off and closing off. And so tonight we'll talk about, I don't know where this rabbit trail is going to go, but I'm sure it will be an amazing one because tonight I have on a special guest. He will be on here shortly, but that's where we are. This week, I know we are supposed to get some snow. I know we've gotten a lot of rain. I've seen people burning up stuff and asking questions about that, and we'll answer some of those questions. We'll talk about how to get your prices up, especially since David's here. Where did everything go? Hopefully I didn't see. Oh, yeah. We'll talk, especially since David here, we'll talk about getting our pricing up. We'll talk about all kinds of awesome things of what we got to go here. Papa put $3,400 plus today. Let's go. That's amazing, amazing, amazing. And so one of the things I would like to hear from you all that is on here is what has worked for you this year in marketing? What is some things that you did this year for marketing that has worked the best for you? I always like to, every call I'm on, I'm always asking like what you do for marketing, what's worked, what's didn't. I was actually on a call today. Last year they grew a lot. This year they only grew like 10 or 12 customers. And I was like, well, what did we do last year versus this year? And this year they put out 100-yard signs. Last year they put out about 400 to 500-yard signs. And so sometimes we try different marketing things. Sometimes we try different stuff. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And a lot of times we quit working on the things that we know that work to the things that don't work, and it doesn't do us good in the end. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about what you need to do to grow this business for 2025 or 2026. I always like to look at the end of the year and see what did we do good? What do we need to fix next year? That's another thing that I always like to try to figure out. Like, this is the time and season to figure out like what went well this year, but what can we make better? What is something that we can improve? Yard signs is number one. That doesn't surprise me. Facebook is number two. And then direct mailers is number three. Number three. Facebook has always been good. This is Express Lawn Services. Facebook has always been good to us. So I think that my book of the week is going to be a book that I think we need to work on this year. We know where we are this year, and this can work for pressure washing and Christmas lights, because I know you'll see me starting to move back and forth from pressure washing to Christmas lights. Typically, this time of the season, I'm all Christmas lights. I will start moving over to pressure washing / marketing / growing your business. I was on a call today with a guy that came to my class. He does $1 million or $2 million in pressure washing, and he ended up doing Christmas lights. He's probably one of the biggest guys in New Jersey for pressure washing. And it was awesome to hear him. He's been in business for 20 years. Let's think about that. He's been in business for 20 years. And he was like, Jason, you opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never realized. And so I love helping people and I love coaching people to get outside of where you may think you can grow or what you may have done. And it's exciting when I especially see people that have been in the industry for that long and that long of periods, is how that we can change our mindset. And so with changing our mindset, this is going to be one that you are going to have to change your mindset this year, is because you're going to have to get uncomfortable a little bit. And I know sometimes we don't like to get uncomfortable, but this is the book that I'm going to hit on, is Endless Customers. I think that 2026 is going to be a lot about personal branding and selling from you that is a real human. I had this conversation this week with someone asking about AI and AI voice, and I think that AI voice is going to be good, but I believe it is the human person in that voice is going to be something that is definitely going to help you out even more in the end. We got our good friend Carrie Bozeman, $650 in landscaping today. Haven't sold a customer this week, but was hoping for one more big one. Well, there you go. Sometimes it's not always what we think it is, but it sometimes might be something else. Facebook and mom groups and referrals. And I will say that I think that those are all great things to have for us for sure. You have helped us out a lot. We are venturing from commercial to residential. Awesome, 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 awesome. So I don't know if my guy's sleeping on me or not. I can show you his camera right now, but it looks like he might be sleeping here. But that's all right. Well, I'm sure I can come up with something. I do have Daniel on tonight, and we're just going to talk. Today, he's still hanging lights. He's got some all the way up till Friday. And so he has done very well and successful. He gets a lot of people calling him, asking him how he's doing, even in his area, even high-end people in his area. And so that is something that, as I have coached Daniel in the last 3 years, it has been amazing to see how he has started from nothing and how he has grown this business to a lot more than what we may think or expect. And so that is definitely been an awesome thing to see him in growth of his business. You know, he started as a soccer coach. It's not like he's been doing Christmas lights forever. He literally started as a soccer coach, and he has started this business and has grown it to where it is. And he's been very blessed in doing this for the Christmas light business. And so tonight, like I said, I'm not going to do typically the way I do it. I think that this will be more of a conversation. I'll pull in some of your all's questions, but I really want to hammer on how Daniel has come and how Daniel has worked on and has grown his business, and it has been an amazing part of doing this, right? He has taken action. He has hyper focused. A lot of times people don't always hyper focus. And since he's hyper focused in on his business and it's only this business, this is one of the reasons why I feel like he's hit the numbers that he's hit in just 3 years. I'll tell you right now, he's hit more than anybody that I've coached in just 3 years. And so it's exciting to see people that are willing to take action and willing to go out there and hammer that nail in like no other. And so it's amazing to see how he has grown this business, how he has taken action. And was it easy? No, but it is. So just for people that don't know who you are, Daniel, just tell them a little bit about who are you, where you're from, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Hey everyone, thanks for the introduction, Jason. Obviously, my name's Daniel. I'm the owner of Holiday Accents. We're based here in Virginia, and in particular Northern Virginia. I was born and raised in Scotland. I was raised just outside the outskirts of the capital city called Edinburgh. Moved here when I was 18, 19, back in 2010, and I've been here ever since. I love this country, and it's given me everything. Yeah, blessed to be here.
So, Daniel, let's so let's talk about let's just have a fun right out of the get-go. So Daniel came up with this new marketing strategy. You want to tell him about your new marketing strategy for 2026?
Oh, you're talking about what happened today?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm talking
so
about.
obviously I've heard this story a lot from other installers and being part of Jason's mentorship group and or call, what would you call it, the Monday night calls, and I've always thought, how would you deal with that? So anyway, what happened is it was actually meant to be, there's one particular neighborhood where we did, I think 73 installs this season alone in this one community. And just so happens we did the HOA there too, 5 gatehouses, 2 entryway buildings. So anyway, we were doing a returning customer. So this is a customer that's been with us since 2023. So this was season 3 with that customer since we started. And so anyway, my guys are there and they get started. I guess they pull up. And you know, it's happened where we've been close to doing it before, but we didn't quite do it. We discovered before we put lights on the home that it was the wrong home. So anyway, we pulled up. The guys have pulled up. I wasn't there. And then I showed up a little bit later just to see how they were doing stuff. And yeah, anyway, I get a text later that evening, tonight, and we're at another job, and I'm getting some pictures and videos, feeling all happy that we'd finished that last install in that community, and kind of we're starting to wind down. We'll be done by Friday. Things are good. And I get a text off the customer. She's like, Daniel, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's great. She's like, the lights aren't on. And I'm like, oh, have you checked? Is it maybe the timer? Because they're familiar with how it all works because they've been with me a long time. And they're like, Daniel, they're not even on the house. And I'm like, please don't tell me. So turns out we did the neighbor's home and in red, white, and green. So this customer does red, white, and green. I'm like, how am I going to deal with this? So I text her and I'm like, are they home? And she's like, no, they're not home. So I was like, Dad, just go and take them down. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So I was like, I waited until they were home, and then she texted me to say they were home. So I went over, knocked on the door. It's like, how you doing, sir? The guy, the husband, answers the door. I'm like, I'm the guy that put the lights on your house. He's like, man, we love them. They're amazing. She's like, you know what's funny? We were actually thinking about doing it this year. We've just been a bit strapped for cash. And I saw 2 little kids, like he had 2 young girls there. And I've got 2 kids of my own. And I'm like, the kids were beaming with joy, right? Smiling. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm like, you can have the lights. Merry Christmas, I says, on the house, quite literally. And he was laughing at that. I'm like, all yours. I was like, enjoy them. And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? I just said, you know what? I was like, things happen in life. And my crew were all upset, and I'm like, guys, don't worry about it. Like, stuff like this happens. Like, this is life. And I just thought it was a very, very cool moment. It was almost a reminder from God. God's got a great way of reminding us and bringing us back down to earth. You know, it's been this great season, and we're all proud of ourselves, and we've done a great job. And it was just a good reminder that no matter how good it may be going, you're only one little slip up away. And thankfully, the guy, it was very well received. He was over the moon. He got a free set of lights, and I went next door and spoke to my customer. She thought it was so funny too. And we ended up, so it was meant to be red, white, and green, but they ended up doing multicolour so it doesn't blend in with our neighbours. And she was all happy because she'd been trying to convince her husband to do multicolour for years. And it was a good excuse to do multicolour. And we threw in the columns for free and things like that. And I think it's just the best way, and it kind of reminded me about what our strengths are as a company. Our strengths are our biggest strength, I believe, is our communication and just how we deal with people. And I think it shined through in that moment. It could be a very difficult moment, but I think just the way we went to that door and we were happy and had a smile on my face, and it was just having a laugh about it. I think it was just a good outcome and a good reminder that if you approach things in the right mindset and you're positive, then something good will come from it. And this customer's now told me that he'll be with me next year and they're going to sign up and they love the lights. So anyway.
So that's a great story, and it's just a lot of fun to see that it does happen sometimes, and it happens to the best of us, and it's just part of it. So Daniel, let's kind of I don't want this just to be a question, me, you. I kind of want to be conversational, a little bit more conversational, because I feel like this is a better way of doing it. And so you can ask, I'm going to ask you a question, then you're going to ask me a question back. So then that way we can kind of, and if people have got questions, you can ask in the chat too. So then that way we can kind of hit on that. But Daniel, so being that this is year 3, what have you learned over the last 3 years? That would be my first question for you.
I've learned a lot. Like, I'm always learning. Like, there's always something to learn, and I'm very blessed. Like, when I look back on my journey in hindsight and hear where I am today, I'm very blessed that I found you right at the start of my journey. You know, when I was getting first into it, I didn't know. There was obviously a bunch of different ways I could have went with training and mentorships and coaches, and I'm just very happy that I found you, because I've heard horror stories, you know, from other people who've maybe went a different route and have been taught different ways, you know, and maybe have undercharged, or maybe they've used the wrong stuff, or they've learned the wrong way. And I'm just very blessed that from the get-go, I've charged appropriately, I've done things the right way, and I've learned from you, because it could have been a whole lot different if I hadn't, you know.
Yep. So what's your question back to me?
What have you learned training? What have you learned, I guess, working with me?
So what I've learned is that it's amazing what happens when you have someone that, I talk to Daniel a lot, and every time I talk to him, if he's always asking a question or a question. Then, you know, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Tristan as in asking questions. So when Tristan first started when he started pressure washing 3-4 years ago, Tristan used to always come in and ask 3 or 4 questions. Daniel didn't ask 3 or 4 questions. He would ask 1 or 2. And then we would kind of talk back and forth of what it is. And it is something that it's a God-given gift to me that I'm been able to, like, I can flow very well. Sometimes I don't get that all the time, but I also feel like that people got to be able to listen and take action. And that has been the biggest thing is with Daniel is he takes action. He not just listens and be like, well, but I heard over here and I heard over here, right? He takes action. And that's one thing that what I've learned the most is when someone takes action, it's amazing what can happen. You know, Daniel has hit milestones that he didn't even think he could hit this year. You know, when October came, he was still hitting his goal for $1 million, and I had already pushed him up beyond that because I knew what he had closed in October, he was going to surpass that $1 million, and he was still going, I don't know about this. You know, I don't know. And I had already been pushing him more and more. And so, yes, I like to set high goals for people that are taking action. And it's just exciting to see when people are able to go after it and take action because, you know, I've coached hundreds of people and I can tell you the people that take action get the best results. You know, Jeremy Main didn't go from being a garbage man to doing over $1 million by not taking action. You know, and there comes points in his business that as I've coached him through and how to get more employees or I remember when he hired his first employee. And so these are all things that I feel like that you have succeeded at and that you have done very well of is listening to what you need to do. And a lot of times it's just little things. It's not even like big things. It's just the little things that always add up. And one thing I have to give you the best of is you're amazing at the customer service. Like he's got messages on his phone that she is just excited. Now she probably didn't buy from you because that's sometimes the husband was like, you're just too giddy over this. But it is definitely the thing that the communication, the way you sell, you don't sell, right? I think this is when I talk about selling on emotion and the feelings, I think of Daniel because every time you talk to him, you can see him. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always listening to the customer. smiling. And that right there is the emotion that goes through the phone is that heartfelt warm. And he's not about selling at that point, right? He's about doing what's best for the customer and making the customer feel amazing at the end of the day. So we got Sam Else on here. What's up? Great story, dude. You're the right thing. So Daniel, Carrie asked the question, what can you give us some tips on how to sell all year?
Yeah, it's not easy. There's not really, I mean, for me, it can be tough. Like I can go weeks calling and not get anywhere. And then I can go weeks where I make sales. And it's just about, I think it's timing, I think it's a bit of luck, but I think you make your own luck through reps, right? It's a numbers game. I think all of it is a numbers game. The thing I've found that's worked really well for me has been leveraging my network. And then once you're in, meaning once you get a job through someone in your network, do it well, and everything just snowballs. I mean, one of the big things I did in year two, before year two, season two, was I started very early. And the reason I started very early on the commercials was I learned in season one, you know, I didn't start my business until end of August 2023, September, really. And I found that a lot of the commercials I was trying to get had ran through their budgets. And so I made a point of, in season two, year two, starting that in end of Q1, like early. And that helped. And then I also went to a lunch meet and greet for an HOA. It was one of the management groups. And I went, this was advice I'd been given through your call, Jason. Someone had met, it might have been you that mentioned it, to go along and do one of these. And I went, I took catered lunch. It was Chick-fil-A. I had a bunch of like memorabilia, like mugs and little gifts. And I took those along. I had those all printed out, and I had some nice flyers and things. And I went and I presented. I can't remember how many. It was a good number of portfolio managers, property managers, for this particular management group. And you know, right away, didn't hear much, crickets. And then I started to hear stuff, and then all of a sudden, it just snowballed. And now it's just kind of blown up. Like, we're big in HOAs now. And I think it all kind of started from, and I remember getting my first HOA wasn't easy whatsoever. Like, the amount of hoops, the amount of stuff you have to jump through, and, you know, and then you build a relationship, but they still have to slap you down on a HOA meeting with two other bidders. Usually there's three bidders. And at that point, you're just hoping that the relationship you built up is enough to get it through and get it over the line. And then I learned that it was probably better to build out a presentation and build a proposal, which I've presented on here before. And that's helped. So there's a lot of different components that go into it. But I think the thing that really helped me is I persevered. Like, I was relentless. Like, I just kept going and learning new ways and picking up new techniques. And all of that compiled together has allowed us to just really blow up on the HOA side. And I mean, you were there, Jason, at one of our most recent HOA projects. And I mean, to think of what we're doing now from where we started in 2023 is just, it's insane.
So, yeah. And that's the key to what we've been able to get with him. Here's one of your guys, H2O. He actually, Daniel sent him a job down. We got him in here. But another one question here that I'll ask from the theater, and I'm going to kind of answer it too, but what services do you offer all year? What type of company do you operate? And how many crews? It's like 50 questions in one. But, you know, this is something that Daniel has, like any other entrepreneur, of squirrel syndrome of, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to start a pressure washing business. I want to do this. And this is one of the things from the start is I said, focus on what you water grows. And this is so important. And the more I learn about this and the more I watch this and the people that actually focus on something all year long instead of pressure washing half the year and Christmas lights the other half of the year, then you're not able to focus all year long on one thing. And, I was taught this a couple of years ago is get one business to $1 million a year before we start trying to figure out how to do 5 businesses, all that none of them do well. And because by getting that one business to $1 million, you learn a lot. And I actually told Daniel this the other day. I was like, if I gave you all the leads you had this year on year 1, you would have never been able to get it done, right? You wouldn't have been able to figure out all the things. And Daniel has said this several times this year is you kind of got to learn, you kind of got to grow through the pain to learn, right? You kind of got to figure out what works and what doesn't. Like his selling ability now in year 3 is 10 times better than it was in year 1. And so he learned in year 1 and he did okay, but year 2 he got better, and year 3 he's dominating it. And so, year 4, year 5, it's going to even get better at the end of the day. And so that's what I would say is he's been able to do this with about 2.5 crews, 2 crews, 2 crews, 2.5 crews is to be able to do that. So, the whole month of October, he only had 2 crews. The month of November, he had 3. And then, well, not even 3 the whole time because one of them had a kid. And so that's one of the things of how he's been able to do this. But my biggest thing is people want to be where Daniel is now, but they don't want to do the work to get him to where he got here. And he has spent many days and days and days of calling people through January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. And there's been a month that he never got no job out of it. But he kept calling, he kept doing, and that's how he's been able to hit the numbers that he's been able to hit. You want to hit on anything on that?
Yeah. I think the exciting, I've said this last year as well, I think the exciting thing is, I feel like I'm only really scratching the surface, to be honest. And I said this last year, and if there's anything that's been my bottleneck this year, if you so to speak, or my downfall has been, I'm at my capacity for what I can handle on any given day, meaning I handle the lead flow. I handle the customer service. I'm the one picking up the phone. I'm the one dealing with leads, dealing with current customers, and I am just at my capacity. I'm working 20-hour days I kind of work that way anyway, and just in my life, but in season, in prime time, I'm just non-stop. And the exciting thing for me is, and for my business is, we can take this as far as we want to go, because all I need to do now is find people. I've got great help now on the labor side. Labor's taken care of, and we can continue to grow that. We can scale it to 4, 5, 6 crews, no problem whatsoever. And that's a blessing. It's now about me implementing systems on the business side and having people pick up the phone, or implementing more automation, integrating more automation, and handling the lead flow and automated responses and things like that. And I think I'm excited because I've not even really, this, cranked the dial yet on ad spend. I've not cranked the dial yet with yard signs. I've never really done many of them. I had, how many, 3,000, 4,000 ready to go this year, didn't even use them. I used 1 weekend's worth. And that's exciting to me because I'm just scratching the surface. I've not done EDDM. There's so many ways I can take this to keep growing. And that's the part that gets me really, really excited because, a lot of these guys are doing a lot more than I am, and I'm honestly just a very small fish in a very, very big pond,
So Daniel, I want to hear some truth, and I know it might hurt some people's feelings, but I feel, because I see you call me sometimes after my calls, and I vent to you and you vent back to me, but what is it that holds people back? Why are people struggle, and why do people not do as well in the end?
I think people overcomplicate it. I think the smartest people simplify things in any facet of life, in anything we do, whether it's soccer or whether it's this, or whether it's pressure wash, whatever it is. I think the minute you start to overcomplicate things, you not only start to confuse yourself and overthink it yourself, you then complicate it for your staff, for everyone involved. So keeping things simple, not overthinking things, because then your customers feel that. If you're constantly thinking about the price and, oh, what's that per foot, and you just get caught up in this vicious cycle, and you give off that energy, because if you're not thinking about, I don't really think about that stuff, like minimums and all that. I don't, because you end up attracting that, I want to just talk about the experience, about how I can help people and how my company can help people, more than what we can, selling the bulb and all that. I hear that a lot, talking about the materials we're using. I don't think anyone really cares, most of my customers could not care less. They just want to make sure it looks amazing. They don't have to worry about a thing, and that we'll take care of that for them,
And you take care of the customer, right? If they have an issue, you take care of it. And then they're not waiting that you go get it done.
Yeah, we take care of it.
Timothy asked, what are you drinking?
So this is actually cold brew with, what do they call it over here? Eggnog? Because I didn't have any creamer left. And then this is water, because I've got a bunch of quotes to do tonight. We're still getting leads, so.
That is crazy that you're still getting leads.
I know. I actually kind of want them to slow down at this point, to be honest with you.
So, as we go through this, or do you got a question for me?
I mean, what do you think? Where do you see the industry going over the next 5 years?
Man, that's a great question, because, I know a lot of people always tell me that the market is oversaturated. There's too many people in that market. And I've been hearing that since I started in 2015. Yes, there might be 1,000 new people starting this year, but you didn't see the 1,200 people go out of business last year. Right. So that's one thing that I would say that people worry about their competition. The other thing that it'll be interesting to see what permanent lights does, right? Is it going to, is it a fad, or is it something that is going to take off more than what it is? And yes, it has taken off this year, and last year and the year before that. And, 2 years ago, you could drive around and you never seen very few permanent lights. But you are seeing more and more of the permanent lights. I think that permanent lights are good in the sense that they're there, but they're still not Christmas lights. And I think that is probably the biggest thing that separates it. I think that in the next 5 years, it's going to be very interesting of what Google does, what AI does, how that's going to, some of these guys that have been in business for years and years, and they spent lots of money on SEO and different things along those lines, that someone that knows how to work the AI can outrank those people very fast and very quickly, which was going to it will disrupt the marketplace some also. I think
I'm starting to see that. Sorry to interrupt you, Jason. I just wanted to interject there because I sent you this the other day, didn't I? I searched my business name because I was going in to see my reviews and I lost a link or something, and I saw a thing, and it was the first time I've seen this. So at the top of Google, it showed, I sent you, didn't I? It showed like a summary of my company, and it was AI, because it said powered by AI. And it taken stuff not only from my website, but also our social media, because it knew about, we did a promo this season, because in our area, we have a lot of our customers and leads that had been furloughed, and we had a lot of people reaching out who were part of the government who couldn't pay their, like, wanted the lights but couldn't put down a deposit. They were asking, is there any way we can maybe delay and put down the deposit at a later time? So we started basically a special where it was called Pay When You Can. And it was basically like, look, we trust you, pay us your deposit whenever you have the money come into your account. We understand and we support you and we see you and we feel you and we hear you. And so we did that. But we only promoted that. We didn't put it on our website. We just put it on our socials. And I guess the AI was able to pull that from our socials, and it included it on this summary on Google, which I thought was really cool.
So I think that's going to disrupt a little bit of, especially some of the older people. I feel like that some of the old people too, right? Labor cost is going up, and some of them haven't raised their pricing.
Yeah.
And they sell on price, and they try to hold these customers on price. And they wonder why they're going through employees so much, because they can't keep people because they're not paying them enough. You know, and I think that you're going to see more of that, and you will see more businesses going out of business because of that also. So I think that as we move forward in the next 5 years, I believe those are going to be the things that set people apart. And that's why I preach it so hard. And it's not just that. I feel like a lot of guys that have been in the business, they're cheap because they've been cheap, and they were taught cheap, and they wasn't really taught about selling on emotion. That's something that I have pushed very, very hard, because the more I learn about it, the more I see it, the more that I see success stories like Daniel, right? He doesn't go in there and talk about the LEDs and blah, 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 because that's not what sells. He talks about how amazing the house is going to look, and it's going to look beautiful, and it's going to look amazing. And he pushes and sells on those points. And I think that more that I've taught and the more that I keep hammering on, I think that those are the people in the end that are going to be the most successful than the people trying to sell on price. There's only one Walmart out there. There's not a lot of the other competitors. You know, you got one Walmart and they're in every city. You don't have a whole lot of Whole Foods because they're only in the cities where the money is. And so it's kind of that whole point of where that is. And my other thing I would say on that too is in the next 5 years, I think that personal branding is going to become, if you can personal brand yourself, you will make as much money as you want to make at the end of the day, because it ain't like when we were growing up about celebrities. You're literally the celebrity. So that's the difference between then and now. And you're basically one social media post away from blowing up to getting whatever you want and getting millions and millions of views and getting a lot. And so that's why I am so big on personal branding. I see people's websites a lot of times, they have 0 pictures of them, 0 pictures of the owner, their employees. They have 0 pictures on their social media. And I think this here is definitely the thing that will separate you from your competitors in the end. Sell the benefits, not the features, 100%. Meta ads have really changed since I've been in business. Company in my area had 16 ads and 6 Google ads. Is this how you would handle your digital marketing? And if you've got enough money to do both, then possibly yes. But if you can close the leads, then pick one and go with it. I know people that have had very good success with Google ads, and I know some people that have had very good success with Facebook ads. And so that's what I'll hit on that. So Daniel, what is your thoughts on what if you had to start all over, what would you do?
I think I'd have just. It sounds crazy to say, but I think I'd probably just keep everything the same. I think I've done it as well as I could have done it.
I think so too. To hit 179,000 your first year is amazing with 0 employees and 0 business of another business. Like I've got a guy that did 250,000 his very first year, but he had a pretty successful pressure washing business and he had a boatload of employees. And so to be able to do 179,000 your very first year with with yourself and 1 other employee is pretty amazing at the end of the day. And so I would agree.
Like, so obviously, I think a big thing as well is, like, I think people like, I've shared my story on here before, but I also my father and I run a soccer club, right? So it's like I had no experience in, this is a whole different business, a soccer club, right? So it's just like completely different. So I've literally had to learn from the ground up, like, and the only way I've learned is by having you, like, because without your like skill and knowledge and ability to coach, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think this is the issue. A lot of people are very quick to judge and are very, I've found this in this industry, and I know it's the same in a lot of other industries. I spoke about this before. I want to surround myself with people who are like-minded, who are positive, and I feel like there's a lot of those great people in this industry. And I think the more people you surround yourself with that think alike, and I made a mistake when I first started in this industry and going into year 2, people were starting to come into my circle and I didn't really know them. And then I noticed things were maybe getting said and it was getting a little bit negative, and I had to, cleanse that and go back to those core people there's people here that are very positive. And if you surround yourself with those people, they can be all over the country. And that's a really cool thing about this business is you could be here in America. You could even have people outside the country, but get around those people like you that are positive, that want to sell an emotion, want to transform people's homes and businesses, want to create joy for others, and who have a little bit of selflessness in them and are willing to give. Then I think you can only benefit from it. And I think that's what I've been blessed with, is I've got great people around me, and I wouldn't be where I am today without those people.
Let's talk a little bit about a change of mindset and, how mindset and not just mindset, but personal investing in yourself. How has that helped you grow your business to where you are, or any business for that fact?
I mean, so I came to your training, when was that? It was last spring, right? And, I was only able to make it there for a day because I was really busy with soccer and other things going on. But that day, that night, I mean, I learned a ton, and it wasn't like I knew a lot of the stuff at this point, like that you presented, not, but there were still things I learned, like, and then the conversations we had at dinner that night and being able to help other people. I think there's no one, I don't believe there's anyone in this world that's the finished article and that can't learn. And the day you feel like all is the day you're done, in my book. So it's just the way there's always something you can pick up. There's always something you can improve on and learn. And as long as you have that mindset and you're open to learning and you want to ask questions, and this is the thing though, there's a lot of people that ask questions and they want to learn, but they don't take action. You have to then go write a list. When you learn something, someone gives you good advice, do it, like go and do it. And I think that's the place where a lot of people struggle, is they know what to do, they've heard what to do, but they just don't pull the trigger on it, right? And that's what I've seen holds a lot of people back.
So I agree 100% of, investing in yourself, you're changing your mindset, getting around the people, like-minded people. This is something that I feel is huge. I always tell people, like, even my classes, When you get to go sit down at dinner with, and I don't even know who's in my classes. Like a lot of times, the week that Daniel King, David Hamill was here, and a couple other Justice Baker was here, and we had Eric here, and so we had some really cool people here of helping people grow, and they were all just coming to help. Other than Eric was teaching on door knocking. And so it was cool to see. And then, I had a class in September and a guy showed up, been in business for 20 years, pressure washing. And, he's one of the biggest guys in New Jersey. He's a $99 guy, literally a $99 guy. He might be a $179 guy, but he makes millions off of it. And, when I get phone calls and when we get to go sit at dinner and eat around the dinner table with him, you learn a lot of information. And so that is the cool thing about this. And so I harp on that because sometimes people are like, I know everything, I don't need to go to class. I have people come to class and they come here every year. I have 2 or 3 guys, maybe more than that come year after year, or come this year and maybe skip a year and come the next year, because what you learn this year, you're probably going to not know next year, because I change it. It is because if you come here to learn how to do Christmas lights, you're not worrying about the marketing. And then when you come here and you know how to do the Christmas lights, you get a little bit better there, but then you know how to do the marketing better. And so that's the cool thing about that at the end of the day. I get a lot of, I'll ask you this question, because this is a question that I feel like a lot of people, it's just a good question of, a lot of people struggle with this question here. I get a lot of, whoa, that's outside of our budget. No, thank you. Even sharing our minimum charge up front. How do you screen leads out without wasting too much time on emailing quote proposals out?
Great question. So obviously, if people are coming through our CRM, like meaning our website now, because it's integrated with our website, then we specify our minimum, like there's budget criteria, so that weeds a lot of them out. Like they kind of have an idea what they're going to be spending. Now that all changes on the ad side of things. So when we're running ads, usually we have an intake lead form they'll fill out. We sometimes specify our minimum on that. We sometimes don't. I've actually found over the years that not specifying the minimums actually helped us. And so we've been taking leads in that way, and we'll actually weed them out early in the process, meaning we will make them aware of our minimum early on in the process, usually within the first text if it's a text. And, they get an idea what we're going to be spending and all that. But that's something where I'd spoke about this earlier in the call. I want to start using more automation so that part of the process is more automated, so that when I get on the phone with them, or hopefully one of my sales reps in the future gets on the phone with them, they're more qualified, so that we're not wasting as much time. I feel like we're doing a decent job at that now, but the problem is, as I said before, I'm doing all of that.
So this is a good question here, because I know some people that have actually got burnt here recently, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was just a learning curve. And this is, what advice would you give somebody thinking about buying a business? And so I'm going to say, whether you're buying a business or you're selling a business, these are the things that you should see. One, if you are buying a business, is it a business or is it a job? Yeah. And so, can this business run without the owner? That's the first thing. I'm going to use Daniel as an example. Yes, Daniel has done very well. Would it run without Daniel? No. And the answer is probably no.
On the labor side, 100%. It could actually go away for 2 months now and come back and everything be taken care of. But on the business side, like I said before, no. And that's why I need to get people in place in the business side.
So that is that, right? Is this a business or is this someone's job? Because there is a difference in the two. So one of the things too is at that point, if a lot of people think, I made $100,000, this business is worth $100,000. And that's not the case. typically the business is only worth, not a lot. And so I had one guy buy a business last year, and you will find out when they talk about buying a business, they will say that they are $100,000. Their average ticket is $7 a foot, and then you find out it's really only $5 a foot or $4 a foot. And so that's where you see a lot in the end. And so that's the things of knowing your numbers. Look.
Does anyone else do this? So in Scotland, where I'm from, we have advent calendars for Christmas, right? And I know that in America, a lot of y'all, I know that they're not as common here, but some of y'all get them. But we get chocolates in them, right? This is a British brand, Dairy Milk. And so my wife and I work very hard to, sorry, I'm going off topic here, but my wife and I work very hard to get these. And there's a local place, it's a store it's a British store, and they carry them for Christmas. So we went and got them. But ever since I was a kid, I can't help myself. I love chocolate. I end up going past the date we're on, and I start eating all the chocolates. So look, if you look at the doors, we're already like, where are we? We're like, I probably got like 3 days left. What date's it? The 10th? I should only be on the 10th.
So now you got to go buy another one so you can get to the last days of it.
No, I was smart this year. I was proactive. I bought another 3 up the stairs, so we're good. I've got extra supplies.
Yeah. And then you always got to eat up to that date, so that's a bunch of it. So
look at this. I got my kids this one this year. Look, dude, I just love Christmas, man. Look at this. I got them the Grinch one. It's a big one.
But you can see how Daniel is so excited about Christmas, right? That's why and when he's on the phone, you can see how much he loves Christmas. And that's why he does what he's able to grow his business in his Christmas pajamas and everything, right? It's all Christmas.
Got my Christmas tree pajamas on, my trees up. Yeah, we're good. We're golden.
So Daniel, we're almost done here. What are some things that people need to do to take action for next year?
Just have fun, man. Like, you've got to just have fun. Like, this is the thing. I'm going to tell you a story here. I recently had a competitor who I've been good with since day one. He had called me years ago when I first started my business looking for a quote from me, pretending to be a customer. And I found out he was a business right away. I knew right away. And his name actually popped up. His business name popped up on my phone. So, and I've just been cool with him, right? Like, I've always been nice and kept a really good relationship with him and treated them as I would anyone else. But recently, I don't know what's going on, like maybe feeling pressured or stuff like that, but just started to get a little bit hostile. And the reason I say all this is, in this industry, if you're not having fun, it goes back to what I'd said about earlier. If you're not having fun and you're tense and you're angry at other people, or you're competing with others and you're worried more about others than yourself and your own crews, and then that's going to catch up with you. And people are going to sense that. And you're not creating joy. If you're not happy about what you're doing and you're not focused on the many positive things there is in this industry, and you're just focused on the negatives, and you're trying to pick others apart, and you're constantly looking over your shoulder at other people and other businesses, then it'll catch up with you. So my number one recommendation to anyone listening to this call right now, and I'm sure a lot of you do it anyway, but just to have fun, man. Like, we have the opportunity to make memories for thousands of people. Like, not only the people that we're decorating homes for, businesses for, but all the people driving by those homes who may have had a tough day, who may be sick, and they get the opportunity to see your work. And I just think that's magical. Like, it's a blessing. We should all feel blessed to be able to be part of this amazing industry. And I think we should all be so positive that we get the opportunity to do what we do.
So Hunter asked a question on here, or actually, let's talk a little bit about Odin. Odin just sold an $1,800 job, upsold a client $1,100, and sold a $5,000 job as 5 minutes ago. And here's the exciting thing about Odin, right? Odin, Odin is 16 years old, or 17. I'm sorry, I screwed me here. He's 17 years old. And his goal this year was a little lofty of 150,000. And then he backed it down to 100,000. But as of Monday night call, he only needed like $800 to hit $100,000 in his business. And so that's going to put him at almost almost $110,000 as a 17-year-old still in high school. He's a senior in high school, still in high school. And that's pretty amazing to see that. So that wasn't the question I was going to ask you. Hunter Sprinter, H2O, asked the question here. He put, I'm curious, Daniel. Shoot, now I can't find the stupid thing. I'm curious, Daniel. What are you going to buy before January? The first is here because he made so much money.
I'm gonna buy my beautiful wife there a nice Christmas gift. That's what I'm gonna do, because I want to keep her happy, because that's the number one rule, guys. Keep your wife happy, live a happy life. That is it. I'll leave it at that.
Actually, let's talk about that. How important is a spouse in a growing business, of a supportive spouse?
Yeah, I mean, you'll know this yourself, Jason. It can be very challenging business, right? Like, there's a lot of long days and stress, and you have to have someone by your side that understands that you're going to have those tough days and know when to put you in place as well. And I think you've got that with Jody as well, But at the end of the day, it's a team effort, None of this can be done alone. And, we've got 2 young kids, and without Chelsea's help around this time of year, it wouldn't be possible, So it's actually something I struggle with. I get a lot of guilt when, I'm working these long days, and I always do my best to get home to see my kids before they go to their bed, because it means a lot to me. I want to be present in their lives, and I find that difficult. It's one of the things in the industry I do find tough, because these long days, you might go a week without seeing your kids, So having a good spouse is important, You don't want one that's going to be all, again, goes back to positivity, right? Come home and they're all doom and gloom. So I'm very blessed that I have a very positive wife, and I know you do too, Jason. Jodie's really good with you, and you're blessed too,
I am blessed. I'd have to say that. I got 2 amazing kids and an amazing wife, amazing cheerleader wife, one that is supportive, and, she believes in me more sometimes than I believe in myself. And that's how I've been able to get to where I am. And I know some of you don't always have that positive person in your life, and sometimes that makes it tough. But that's why I'm here on this call a lot of times, to be your cheerleader, because you are an amazing person. You're an amazing human being. You were put on this earth for a reason. And sometimes you don't always know what that reason is, but I'm here to help you in any way that I can help you to grow business or whatever that might be. So with that, Daniel, what are some words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Oh, gosh. Not got much wisdom, so. I don't know, I think it goes back to what I've been saying. I guess the theme of tonight, what I'm saying is just have fun. Life's too short. Don't take things too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. I feel like tonight, if I'd have gone to that house and I was concerned about the money of that job and losing money on that job and material, and tried to get those lights off that house, and I'd have went up all tense with that kind of mindset, I think that customer now, but that guy could have been completely different and been a little bit difficult. You just never know, So just approach things in a positive light, try and always look. And by the way, I struggle with this. I might seem positive and all that, but life's not easy, I've not I've had difficulties in my life, and I've come from a rough place. You know my story, Jason. I have my struggles with depression and stuff, and you have to, it's easy to look down and get disappointed, but I think that's one of the blessings of being involved in this all, is we have the opportunity I believe, transform people's lives and create happiness. And I think if we think like that, we'll be good. So.
Yeah, actually, one of my guys in my mentorship, he gave a job away to someone in need, and it was their last Christmas, and the person that actually gave them the job loved Christmas and works at a home that she's a volunteer there and don't got a lot, and he actually went and gave her Christmas lights. That, I mean, he was telling the story crying, and it's just like when you give like that to someone that isn't, and that is in need, and there it is doom and gloom, you can literally change your life. And I would challenge you, if you've got some material left over, go give a 3 one away, go give 1 or 2 away. I promise you, it will make you so much happier. It'll bless you more than it'll bless them, and it will bless them a lot, but it will definitely bless you even more.
We do, Jason, we do a bunch of that, and I don't really talk about it much or promote it on our thing, because it's just something that I just believe we should be doing, like, in our industry. And I think the cool thing is, I know a lot of my competitors in my area are doing the exact same, and I think it's an amazing thing, like, that there's so many of us out there giving back to our communities. So it's really cool to see that. And I completely agree with you. If you have any scraps or leftover material or anything at the end of the season, just go out there and find someone who could use it and go and do that. We're doing 2 tomorrow, actually, for free. So
let's hit a thing. I've kind of just had a question come to my mind, because I feel like a lot of times people think that if they're just starting out or they're a small guy, but there's other companies in the area that are, the big guys, or you think they're the big guys.
Right.
What, and you know who I'm talking about. There's 2 of them in your area, and they might be on here and they know what I'm talking about too. I'll just call one of them out. I haven't seen him on here, but Paul, right? Paul with Elk Pros. He has an amazing looking brand. He's been on my live here. And when you started, you're not that far away from him. What are some things, how have you been able to grow without that hindering you a lot?
So this is something you've helped me a lot with, and I'm very grateful that you told me this early on, and I took it on board. Like, so when I first started, and Paul knows this, I've told Paul, I looked up to Paul. I almost saw him as a role model. I didn't know Paul personally back then. I actually didn't know who he was, but his business, like Elk Pros, they were excellent. They did everything how I wanted. And if you actually look at my business, a lot of the same things we're doing. Like, my branding's excellent, right? My guys look great. They've got the uniforms on. A lot of that's come from Paul. So being able, like, look for people who are doing it the right way, right? Like, and strive to be like them, or even better than them. Like, just strive for that, and look up to them, and don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, I've reached out to Paul. He's not given too much away, but I've reached out to Paul, and Paul's a great guy. But one thing I've always done, Jason, and you told me this early on, I have never, and I'll never be that guy, looked down on a competitor, spoke bad about a competitor. I almost see it, and I think this comes from my athletic background, I see it as a good thing, in all honesty. I think the more people we have in this industry, it's still a niche business, right? Like, I know there's a lot of people doing it, but is there a lot of people doing it well? Who knows, right? So looking at it as a positive, like when I see Christmas light signs and all this stuff out there, I'm thinking, great, I'm going to be getting more calls, because most customers don't go with the first company they call or contact, so I think it just raises the awareness of Christmas lights in the industry. And as long as they're doing things the right way, then I'm all for it, and I know that a lot of people, and especially right now, and I understand there's a lot of people worried about how many people are coming in this industry. And even in my area, Jason, you know this, like every landscaper's doing it now, every pressure washer, and I've seen that since even when I started. It's probably 10x the amount of companies now doing Christmas lights. But like you always say, and I honestly don't. I don't care. I don't focus on that. I don't worry about that. I'm just worried about my own journey. And I think that's really helped, because if I was to spend energy worrying about what they're doing, I've never called for their price, never. Like, I don't care. Like, do what you need to do. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's great. The only one I've ever spoke about price was Paul. That's it. So everyone else doesn't matter, you know. And if you worry about that too much, then it's going to impact you in a negative light, you know.
This is great. Thank you so much for tonight's live session. You both have a special light and grace. Truly a blessing to have found your page. Have a blessed week. On that note, I know I've been posting a lot about safety. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Brandon, I posted today that he came home from the hospital. He fell from a ladder last week, broke both ankles or plates in his feet and stuff. And so he has a long road ahead, about 3 to 4 months in a wheelchair. But his wife has been posting a lot, and I've been posting a lot in their group. I know they had a GoFundMe. I hear that he's got like 6 kids. And so safety is something that I'm probably going to be pushing even harder next year. I meant to do more this year, and I really just I didn't know and I've kind of fallen into something that I'm going to be pushing safety even more. You know, while he was on the floor of the ICU, there was 8 other people that have fallen off ladders.
Really?
Some of them are now quadriplegic. Some of them are paralyzed. Some of them have brain injuries and brain bleeds. And so it's important to think about safety. Safety is something that, you know, I know that we're getting toward the end of the season, but we still have takedowns. So there still may be some laddering and ladder stuff. And so again, let's not forget about safety. Let's not jump. Let's keep the safety mindset. So that way we don't get hurt, our crews get hurt. It's important that we make sure that we're keeping our guys safe. You know, I know several people have fallen this year, and Brandon, and the week before that, there was another dude that fell and broke both of his legs. I've known several of them fall. We actually have a guy in my group that his son fell, and he got a pretty good concussion. And that's why I was kind of hitting on, you know, helmet safety. And, you know, it's important that we bring ourselves home and our employees home. You know, we can't take care of our spouses and our family if we die or we're very badly injured. So again, just want to throw this out there a little bit more. Make sure that we're staying safe, make sure that we're not doing sketchy stuff. And again, with that, one last thing, again, if you need any lights, christmaslights.io. I will be having a sale coming up, Clear the Barn sale. So if you need got some tax write-offs that you want, I will be having some stuff coming up in the future here, and probably either the end of this week or first of next. I've got some barn stuff here that I'll be giving a pretty good discount on. And so if you see that and you want it, get it. Go ahead.
I want to give you a shout out, Jason. So everyone on here, you won't know what happened recently. So my local supplier, who I've been with since day one and I've been loyal with, they just ran out of material this year. They were struggling to keep up. They admitted that. And it left me in a really tough spot. I mean, we sold a ton of wreaths this year, and I'm sure a lot of you will be the same. There just seems to be this urge for wreaths these days, this year in particular, wreaths and garlands. So we went through a ton, and we were short. And I kept getting promised that, you know, by my supplier that they were bringing more in, and it just wasn't happening. And we had a full week of like wreath jobs lined up at this point. And, you know, I even ordered, I think it was like, might have been close to $20,000 of wreaths online. They came in, they were great wreaths, but they were the wrong color. They were the wrong tone of warm white. They were like sun warm, and they just didn't look good. And a lot of installers would have just left them up, but I didn't feel good or comfortable with that. So I brought them all down. And who drove overnight from, you live in Kentucky, you drove up to Indianapolis for me, and then drove across the country to Virginia to deliver these wreaths, a full trailer's worth of wreaths and some garlands and material. It was Jason. And I just want to say on here a huge thank you on behalf of my business, Holiday Accents, for doing that for us. You literally saved the day. And, you know, he fitted as much as he could in that trailer. And then literally 4 days later, we realized that we were running low on some more supplies. And who shows back up again when we needed them the most? Jason. So he literally drove twice overnight from Kentucky via Indianapolis at the warehouse up there to bring us stuff, and literally saved the day twice, and probably saved one of the biggest weeks of the season, that Thanksgiving week, for our business. So, Jason, we really appreciate it, man, and you're a man of your word, and I'll never forget what you did for us. And because of that, you know that we'll be moving forward with you at ChristmasLights.io. So we appreciate it, brother.
Yep. So with that, don't forget, you got to market all year for Christmas lights. I know a lot of times you're not thinking that. You know, even in the off season, we're thinking about, you know, SEO and different things, and how calling people and whatever we need to do. But with that, you all have a great and safe week, and don't get hurt this week because we're getting right close to Christmas time. So with that, I will be on here Sunday and next week, but other than that, have a great week, and we'll see you all later.